Hey guys, how's it going? We're back, unfortunately, but this time with a twist. This time we actually went out into theaters and saw a movie, and we're going to talk about it, and it's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
Derek, what movie did we see?
What movie? The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies.
5 Armies. Count them 5.
All 5 armies.
Josh, did you like this movie?
Actually, I didn't see this movie.
What?
Oh, awkward.
Wait,
Time to leave.
hold on. You haven't seen this movie. Have you seen the other Hobbits?
No.
Have you seen The Lord of the Rings?
No.
Have you seen Star Wars?
No.
What?
We know what we have to do. All in good time, but unfortunately,
Josh, you've been voted out of the tribe.
you are the weakest link.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye. We won't miss you.
We won't miss you.
We don't have nice things to say.
Nothing
None
nice.
of them.
Bye.
None of the nice. Good riddance.
Alright, so now that
Yeah, got rid of him.
guy's gone, we can get to talking about how absolutely freaking incredible this movie was.
It was pretty good.
No. No, it exceeded all of my expectations.
It exceeded all the expectations. Just a disclaimer, we're not going to do spoilers yet. We'll just talk about general stuff, that no big deal. But later on, we'll get to spoilers. We'll let you know. Don't worry.
So, cool. Alright, so without getting into spoilers, Ryan, how did you feel as you watched the movie? What was your general feeling?
I was a little bit nervous going in because I like the first 2 Hobbit movies. I know a lot of people aren't quite as thrilled with them as they are with The Lord of the Rings. I was a little bit nervous. I was like, are they going to go too epic? Are they going to try and do too much with it? And they didn't. They made the weakest part of the Hobbit book into a great chapter of this series. So I was really, really pleased with the results. And the only complaints I have are minor, very, very minor. And so I do really like this movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
How about you, Jordan?
Well, to be honest with you, I am not fully comprehensive of the whole storyline because of the fact that I've only seen Lord of the Rings once and The Hobbit parts 1 and 2 once.
Tisk.
It's better than that. Fuck.
Yeah,
that's true,
better than
that's
that
true.
guy. Better than that guy.
So from that point, it met all my expectations, and those expectations were high. So with that, it's a really, really, really good movie, and I would definitely watch it multiple times.
Multiple.
That's how many times.
Like-
But I would have to watch Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit again to be more aware of what exactly is happening and who all the characters are. Because, to be completely honest with you, the only 2 that I know is Gandalf and Frodo and
Bilbo?
Bilbo. Yeah,
Bilbo.
those are the only 3. Those are the only 3 that I can tell you their names of.
Oh, that means you haven't seen Lord of the Rings enough, my friend.
I can name all the dwarves.
Yeah, I can't.
I can too, but in fairness, we, Ryan and myself, we have read the book. Jordan has
Multiple
not read
times.
any of the
I
book.
didn't
Yes,
even know
multiple
Lord of the
times.
Rings was a book.
I
Oh,
wrote
there
a
you go.
22-page paper on the book The Hobbit.
I wrote a page and a half paper on The Hobbit.
I had no complaints.
Oh, no complaints.
No complaints.
None at all.
None of the complaints. Oh, okay. Alright, your turn, Derek.
Alright, so to kind of kick things off for myself, I want to explain my feelings about the Hobbit series in general. Ryan and I talked about this long before we ever started recording videos of us talking about movies, but the Hobbit movies are a very unique breed because the book, very lighthearted, very fun, very adventurous. It really is just adventurous.
It's a kid's book. It
Yeah,
really is.
It kind of is. It really lighthearted. Like I said, the way Tolkien writes the book is in positive fashion, even when bad things are happening. And a lot of it is really goofy, a little over the top. A lot of these things happen, especially in the second movie during the river scene. I feel like the movies, in general, have always done a great job of capturing the goofiness, but still being able to extrapolate on the things that weren't really made clear in the Hobbit book. One thing that people don't realize if they haven't read the book is that Tolkien doesn't go into great detail with a lot of anything. He is very broad, or things just happen and then he says they're over. One example of a line from the book is like, "Oh, dragons love gold. Everybody knows that. If you don't know that, you must be living under a rock." And it's like, "Oh, well, yeah. I guess I must be living under a rock. But dragons love gold." And then, of course, we all know, like, in the end of the book, like, during the actual battle, spoiler, there's a battle in the Battle of the Five Armies.
What? What?
Yeah. The book does that very differently from the movie.
They really don't elaborate much at all on the battle.
No, not in the book.
Not in the
not
book
in the
at all.
book.
The battle is done in about a page or two.
Yeah, if that. But that's what I wanted to really say was these movies need to be treated separately from these books.
Mhm.
Or from the book. It is a trilogy of movies. Yeah, you could probably read the book in the 9 hours it would take you to watch all the extended editions of The Hobbit. And honestly, you would get two almost completely different stories with similar characters, but I enjoyed both of them. Because The Hobbit does leave a lot of questions, a lot of things that are unanswered that you might want to know, especially if you're familiar with Lord of the Rings characters. Like when Gandalf leaves, what does he go do? That's not in the book.
Yep.
That whole Sauron subplot with Galadriel,
Saruman and Elrond.
Saruman, Galadriel, Elrond, Gandalf, none of that happens in the book. So it's really cool to kind of have that additional story, getting to know what happened there, and how if you are a fan of The Lord of the Rings, this is kind of what sets off that whole chain of events. This is the beginning of it. They know that Sauron has returned in some fashion, but he's been banished. So if you can treat the book and the movies separately, these movies are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This movie in particular, I'm sorry that I dragged that on, but I want to make it very clear that the movies and the book need to be separate.
You were absolutely right.
The movie, like Ryan said, it took the weakest portion of that book and turned it into something that I would watch again and again and again. I will say from a stylistic standpoint, I liked Lord of the Rings better because everything was so raw. They did the makeup. Almost nothing was CGI'd. Now, granted, yeah, I'll give them a pass on Smaug. You're not going to build yourself like a 300-foot dragon.
Right.
But some of the dwarves, they look really CGI'd. Some of the people, they just look really, really fake. And I feel like that might date this movie eventually.
Yeah.
But the fact that I appreciated the story, and I really, really, really enjoyed the movie. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, so many little connections that you can make, and they tie all the loose ends together. They tie every little thing together, and it makes it happy for me that they were able to stay true to their roots in this way. This movie goes from The Hobbit 1 and The Hobbit 2 to a Lord of the Rings-esque movie.
Agreed. It's a transition movie.
I like how it, at the end of it, it kind of leads up to Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Oh, yeah. How there's a direct correlation there, but it's almost like you start with The Hobbit 1, you've got pretty fun-filled, adventurous, not a whole lot happens, the things that do, a little ridiculous, a little outlandish. The second movie get a little more serious, especially at the end with Smaug attacking, or on his way to Lake City. And then this movie, dark. You still have an adventurous.
And there's a few lighthearted moments.
But in general, what happens in this
darkness.
movie is very, very dark. And then that leads you into the Fellowship of the Ring, which, Lord of the Rings in general is not a happy story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story with happy moments that is generally very dark.
Right.
So I loved this movie. So, also, Azog and Bolg?
Bolg.
Azog and Bolg don't exist in the books either.
Okay, Azog does, but he was long dead. Like, they talk about him, but he's been dead before.
Yeah, like, he's not in the book as a character. He is in as, like, a memory.
Yeah.
So that's actually something that I was really happy that they did in the first Hobbit, was because in the book, it's just they're fighting massive armies of orcs and goblins.
They need a face, like a running antagonist.
Yeah, if you don't have a defined antagonist other than what is the, I don't know.
Necromancer.
The Necromancer. Which doesn't really have a face in any of the movies, really.
Really.
But I'm glad that they put them in the movie. I'm glad they added them in. It made it easier to relate to the characters.
Agreed.
Rather than just having massive, nameless armies of orcs and goblins. But yeah, third movie overall, I give it 2 thumbs up. Will buy, will watch extended version. Will go on Lord of the Rings and Hobbit binge marathons where I watch all 6 of those movies. So
it's a lot of hours.
Anything else, like stylistically, anything like without spoilers that you guys really want to talk about?
I really like all the battle scenes.
Yeah, those were well done. And I appreciate that the first two movies were definitely more cartoony
Mhm.
than Lord of the Rings, far more. And this one still was more cartoony than Lord of the Rings, but it had more Lord of the Rings elements in it.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so
Yes,
I
it
appreciate it, and it is really a stepping stone.
Yes.
And I appreciate that quite a bit.
So.
And I was worried that, 3 movies for The Hobbit might be too much, and maybe in some places it was, but at the same time, I loved the ride. So I'm glad they did send me 3 movies.
Yep.
Because we got pretty much the best we could have expected from turning one book into 3 movies.
One 200-page book.
Yeah.
So, but I suppose in summary, if you've seen The Lord of the Rings and you've seen the first 2 Hobbits, see this movie. See the movie.
No
Go
reason
to the
not
movie.
to. You have no reason not to.
You will enjoy it. Even if you were okay with the first 2 Hobbit movies, this one is by far my favorite of the 3.
And if you didn't like the first 2 Hobbit movies because they weren't Lord of the Rings enough, I urge you to give this one a try because this one is a lot closer to the tone of Lord of the Rings than the first 2. So I urge you to give this one a try, even if you weren't as big a fan as with the first 2.
And if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, but you have seen the Hobbit movies, still watch this movie, but I also urge you to go back and watch Lord of the Rings and then watch the Hobbit movies over. You're only getting half the movie if you're not being able to make all those little connections.
Right.
So, and if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit movies, then you're wrong.
You're wrong.
And you need to correct that.
Yeah, like that? Fuck.
Josh.
Josh.
Man.
Man, that guy.
But, all right.
Why do we let him win every week in our death matches?
Shameless plug.
It's rigged.
Oh, yeah. By the way, if you haven't seen it, check out our deathmatch videos, and we get to see each other kill each other with movies.
Time for some spoilers.
Yep, now it's time for some spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, jump ahead to this time code.